What's good, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Christian here again with another video, and this time we're going to be talking about why people miss pre-shadow patch Sparking Zero, right? So here I got some pre-patch ranked gameplay, and if you didn't know, Bandai has changed Sparking Zero a lot since the release, okay? They keep patching the game in shadow ways, in secret. They changed the sidestep speed, they changed perception, they changed a lot of things and didn't communicate that to the community, okay? So here I have pre-patch Sparking Zero to kind of set an example of why people are saying pre-patch is better than the current version of the game. And as you see in this gameplay, this is ranked gameplay. I was on my way to Z rank here, and basically the game is a lot faster paced. You know, the thing about the current Sparking Zero game is that it is interrupted a lot by revenge counters and the like, okay? Because at this point of the game, revenge counter wasn't that strong, and like I've mentioned in my other videos, we didn't really need revenge counter to be strong. There's so many defensive mechanics in this game already that revenge counter, in my opinion, is a little redundant. Now, do I think they should have left revenge counter in a buggy, unusable state? No, but they could have increased the cost of it at least after buff, because revenge counter right now is just always interrupting the gameplay, and it creates just this clunky mess of gameplay, in my opinion, okay? Now, as you see, me and my opponent here are just being straight offensive against each other, throwing hands. Like, we're not really sidestepping a lot, because at this point of the game, combo tracking was still functional, okay? Combo tracking had not been nerfed at this point. So basically, regular combos tracked a lot better. Sidesteps were actually a little riskier to throw, so you couldn't spam them. But for whatever reason, Bandai decided they needed a buff, so they buffed sidestep and they nerfed combo tracking, which makes it to where now you cannot be as offensive as this, okay? Right after this, I dropped from Z rank to basically S5. I basically had to create a new gameplay style, because look at how offensive I'm being with Boo here, okay? I am and my opponent too. Look at my opponent. He's not scared to throw hands because the sidesteps were not as strong. So basically, you were allowed to be more offensive. Gameplay looked a lot more like DBZ, in my opinion. You're over here throwing hands, vanishing against each other. You know, you're not sidestepping as much, and you're not spamming revenge counter, because revenge counter was pretty much useless. If you used a revenge counter, you basically just got punished instantly, okay? But generally, you saw more offense from good players, and you saw more punish game as well, because combo tracking was so good that you could light smash and it would track even behind you. So you could really plan out your attacks, plan out your punishes a lot more. And, you know, in my opinion, it was more interesting. One thing I will mention though is that sweet resets were in the game, and Bandai attempted to take them out but messed it up. Sweet resets are still in the game, but now they're just slower to perform. So basically, you could sweep reset automatically. You didn't need to wait for a animation reset, which just basically meant that the gameplay was faster paced once again, okay? It looked better on screen, it felt better to play, more fun, more offensive gameplay. And as you see my opponent here, he just basically reset his position really quickly and tried to punish me, and I just sidestepped it. So sidestep was still very powerful, it just was not spammable, okay? So I don't know why Bandai decided to mess with the sidestep speed and the combo tracking. In my opinion, they just created a negative feedback loop, basically, where they just have to constantly tweak the gameplay now to get it into a good spot, when in my opinion, this was the good spot, okay? This was the best version of the game, minus a couple things, okay? So what were those things? Basically, you know, perception was still way too strong in this version of the game. You could really spam it and turtle people with perception, and they ended up nerfing it later on, but then they started tweaking with like 2 or 3 other game mechanics and basically messed up the combo tracking, okay? So if they would have just nerfed perception and left everything else alone, in my opinion, that could have been great for the game. They could have removed sweep resets, okay? But instead, not only did they remove sweep resets and failed to do so, but they added hard knockdowns, forced hard knockdowns. Now, what that does is that basically the meta right now is just you trying to hard knock down opponents to get sparking. which again just removes you from the game. It's a way to slow down the gameplay yet again. In my opinion, it was not a smart change. They need to reverse that change, remove forced hard knockdowns, and remove sweep resets altogether, and that would be great for the game. But as far as combo tracking and sidestep strength, this was the perfect balance. I don't know why they messed with it after this. Okay, now like I mentioned, like defensive skill point usage, so revenge counters and explosive waves, they just slowed the gameplay down in my opinion. So in my opinion, revenge counters should cost 3, and maybe explosive waves should cost 3 as well. They just right now are just too prevalent in the game. They're just always interrupting the gameplay, so it makes it not fun. Like right here, we don't have to worry about revenge counter, so me and my opponent are just throwing hands, and it's a fun game. You know, this is a rank game, by the way. You would not see a rank game like this nowadays. What you would see basically is people just sidestepping around each other and trying to get a forced hard knockdown into sparking, which in my opinion is just like really terrible to watch and really terrible to play. Okay, no offense to like the top players or whatever, but if you watch them play, it's the most boring shit ever, because all they're doing is basically attempting to sweep reset into shotgun key blast. And you know, they might be good at the game, but it is not healthy for the game, for that gameplay to be optimal in my opinion. Okay, so they need to change that moving forward. Now, by this time, they had already nerfed Z-Burst Dash to 2 bars, but they did implement the change where you could charge a little bit faster for the first 2 bars. I think that's a good fix. I don't think Z-Burst Dash needs to cost 1 bar anymore because of that change. You could still get off fast Z-Burst Dashes by quickly charging those 2 bars, which I think is a good enough fix. It doesn't need to be fixed. But the thing is, like the combo tracking and the sidestep speed and strength is very prevalent. It's kind of basic movement, and by you changing it all the time, like people are getting annoyed with the changes, and I think that had something to do with the player base kind of leaving, because you know, the base game, regardless of its broken nature, was fun to play, and this version of the game in my opinion was the best version of that. You know, Z-Burst Dash had already been nerfed, but combo tracking was good and sidestep was well balanced against it, and blocking was a good strategy against, you know, combos coming from the front. You didn't have to sidestep all the time, which is why you don't see opponents here, even at high levels, just sidestepping each other all the time, you know. And you know, I went on record and said that I was not a fan of the new sidesteps, and you know, people said that I was coping or whatever, but this is the reason why. Like, this gameplay right here is the gameplay that I like, just offensive gameplay style, both opponents throwing hands against each other, trying to open each other up with combos, instead of, you know, just sidestepping around each other all the time and revenge countering whenever you get hit or whatever. In my opinion, it doesn't create for interesting gameplay. But you guys can let me know in the comments if I'm right. What version of the game was your favorite version, and what would you like to see return to Sparking Zero, including Z-Burst dashing or combo tracking changes that you might want in the future? Let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.
We're the amalgamations of other beings, but I am the far superior one.